Kiss me, please. The words tumbled from Leia's lips before rational thought could stop them. Her fingers clutched the lapels of an expensive charcoal suit, belonging to a stranger whose dark eyes reflected the strobing lights of the Miami nightclub. She didn't have time to study his face, didn't have time to process the dangerous aura radiating from his tall frame. She just needed to disappear. The man's hands found her waist with surprising gentleness, pulling her against him as his mouth claimed hers. The kiss was electric, demanding, nothing like the desperate camouflage she'd intended. Around them, the VIP section erupted in cheers and whistles. Phone cameras flashed like paparazzi lightning. Holy shit, look at them. Get this on TikTok. Who is that girl? The stranger's lips moved against hers with practiced skill, one hand sliding to the back of her neck, fingers threading through her dark curls. Leia's heart hammered against her ribs, but not from fear anymore. This kiss was consuming her, making her forget why she'd initiated it in the first place. When they finally broke apart, his thumb traced her lower lip, and he whispered against her ear, his voice a low rumble that sent shivers down her spine. Interesting choice, sweetheart. Leia's chest rose and fell rapidly as reality crashed back. The pounding bass of the club, the crowd of onlookers filming them, the reason she'd run to him in desperation. Her eyes darted past his shoulder, scanning the crowd for the men who'd been hunting her. They were gone. She started, but her voice caught. What could she possibly say? Thank you for the performance kiss? Sorry for using you as human camouflage? The stranger's dark eyes studied her face with an intensity that made her skin burn. There was something predatory about his gaze, something that suggested he saw far more than she wanted to reveal. Those men chasing you, he said, his hand still resting on her lower back. They're not coming back tonight. Her blood turned to ice. How did you? I make it my business to know everything that happens in my city. His smile was sharp, dangerous. Especially when beautiful women throw themselves into my arms. Around them, the crowd was still filming, still cheering. Someone shouted, "Get a room," and laughter erupted. But Leia barely heard it. The stranger's words echoed in her mind, his city. Who are you? She breathed. His smile widened, but it didn't reach his eyes. You just kissed Enzo Duca, sweetheart. The most dangerous man in this city. The name hit her like a physical blow. Everyone in Miami knew that name, whispered in fear and respect. Enzo Duca controlled half the city's underground, commanded an empire built on loyalty and blood. She'd seen his face on news reports, always in the background of federal investigations that never seemed to stick. And she just kissed him in front of hundreds of people. Oh God, she whispered, taking a step back. But his hand on her waist kept her anchored to him. Relax, he said, his voice deceptively calm. You're safe now. Safe. She laughed, a sound edged with hysteria. I just made myself a target for every rival family in the state.
No.
His grip tightened slightly, not painful but possessive. You made yourself mine. Before she could process that statement, her phone buzzed frantically in her clutch. Notification after notification. Her Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all exploding with tags and mentions. #MafiaKiss was already trending. I should have chosen anyone else in that crowded room. But I didn't. And before I tell you why that one kiss changed 3 lives forever, subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna, because some mistakes are too dangerous to undo. 30 seconds earlier, Leia had been running for her life through the pulsing maze of Club Babylon, her borrowed Valentino dress hiked up to avoid tripping on the crystal-studded stilettos that were never meant for fleeing. The art gallery opening she'd attended had been a trap, Jax Morrison's trap. Detective Jax Morrison, corrupt to his core, had been hunting her for 3 months. Ever since her sister Emma's accident. Emma's death hadn't been random. The car crash that killed her had been too convenient, too clean. Emma had been asking questions about her job at the shipping company, questions about late-night cargo transfers and mysterious manifests, questions that apparently got her killed. Leia had made the mistake of continuing Emma's investigation, and now Jax wanted her silenced permanently. She'd spotted his men the moment they entered the gallery, 3 suits that didn't belong among the art collectors and wine-sipping socialites. They'd moved through the crowd with predatory purpose, closing in on her position near the Basquiat exhibit. Escape through the main entrance was impossible. They'd anticipated that. But the gallery shared a back entrance with Club Babylon, and in her desperate flight, she'd found herself in the pulsing heart of Miami's most exclusive nightclub. The VIP section had seemed like sanctuary until she'd seen more of Jax's men pushing through the crowd below. That's when she'd spotted him, the man in the expensive suit, commanding attention without trying, surrounded by an invisible aura of power and danger. She'd made a split-second decision that changed everything. Now, as Enzo De Luca's hand remained firmly planted on her waist, as his dark eyes studied her like she was a puzzle to solve, Leia realized her desperate gambit had traded one kind of danger for another. "Those men hunting you," Enzo said, his voice cutting through her racing thoughts. "They work for Jax Morrison." Her blood froze. How do you know that name? "Detective Morrison and I have a complicated relationship." His smile turned predatory. "He's been trying to build a case against my family for years. Unsuccessfully. He killed my sister." The words slipped out before she could stop them, raw and broken. Enzo's expression shifted, his eyes hardening with something that might have been recognition. "Emma Williams," he said quietly. 27, worked at Meridian Shipping. Died in a single-car accident on the MacArthur Causeway. Leia's knees nearly buckled. "How could you possibly?" "Because your sister worked for me." The world tilted on its axis. The bass line of the club faded to a dull throb as Enzo's words sank in. Emma, her straight-laced sister who taught Sunday school and donated to animal shelters, had worked for the Miami Mafia. "That's impossible." "Emma was my inside source at Meridian," Enzo continued, his thumb still tracing patterns on her wrist. "She fed me information about Jax's smuggling operation. When she refused to give him details about my organization, he killed her." The crowd around them was dispersing, moving on to other entertainment, but phones were still recording intermittently. The viral moment of their kiss would be circulating social media within minutes. "You're lying," Leia whispered, but even as she said it, pieces began clicking into place. Emma's late nights, the expensive purse she'd claimed was a bonus, the way she'd grown secretive in the weeks before her death. Enzo reached into his jacket and pulled out a photograph. It showed Emma's arm, displaying a small tattoo near her wrist, a stylized E surrounded by thorns. "The loyalty mark of the De Luca family." "She was trying to protect you," he said softly. "But Jax figured out she had family. He used you as leverage." Leia stared at the photograph, her world crumbling and reforming simultaneously. Everything she'd believed about Emma, about her death, about the man she'd just kissed, all of it was wrong. "Those men tonight weren't just hunting you for asking questions," Enzo continued. "They were hunting you because you're my best lead to whatever Emma discovered before she died. Something big enough that Jax risked killing a federal informant." His grip on her waist tightened as the implications settled between them. "You're coming with me, sweetheart. Because if Jax Morrison wants you dead, then you're exactly where I need you to be." "She's with me." Enzo's declaration cut through the club's chaos like a blade. His arm slipped around Leia's shoulders, a gesture that appeared protective but felt like a collar. The remaining onlookers who'd witnessed their viral kiss suddenly straightened, recognition dawning on their faces. The De Luca heir didn't make public claims lightly. "Enzo, what are you doing?" Leia hissed, but his fingers pressed against her spine, a warning to stay silent. "Giving you the only protection that matters in this city," he murmured, then raised his voice for the crowd. "Anyone who touches her touches me." Within seconds, his security detail materialized from the shadows, 6 men in sharp suits moving with military precision. They formed a protective circle as Enzo guided Leia toward a private exit she hadn't known existed. Behind them, she could hear the excited chatter escalating. Did he just claim her? "Oh my God. This is going to break the internet. Who is she?" Leia's phone continued buzzing incessantly. Through the exit's tinted glass, she glimpsed the first news van pulling up outside Club Babylon. Her stomach dropped. "This is insane," she breathed as they stepped into the humid Miami night. I'm a high school art teacher. I can't be connected to. Too late. Enzo's hand found the small of her back, steering her toward a waiting black Escalade. The moment you kissed me in front of 200 cameras, you became part of my world. The SUV's door closed with a finality that made her chest tight. As they pulled away from the curb, Leia caught a glimpse of herself in the tinted window, disheveled curls, smudged lipstick, designer dress that wasn't even hers. She looked like someone else entirely. Where are you taking me? Somewhere safe. Enzo settled back against the leather seats, his dark suit impeccable despite everything. Somewhere Jax Morrison's reach doesn't extend. You can't just kidnap me because of some performance kiss. His laugh was low, dangerous. Kidnapping implies you're unwilling. Are you planning to go home tonight? Back to your apartment where Jax's men are probably waiting. The logic hit her like cold water. Her cozy Coral Gables condo, her normal life, her students' artwork covering her refrigerator. All of it was contaminated now. Jax would be watching every place she might run. My life is over, she whispered. Your old life is over, Enzo corrected. This one's just beginning. The Escalade glided through downtown Miami, past the neon-soaked streets toward Brickell Avenue. When they pulled into the underground garage of a gleaming tower, Leia realized she was entering a fortress. Security cameras tracked their movement. Armed guards nodded respectfully at Enzo, and multiple barriers sealed behind them. The penthouse elevator climbed 43 floors in silence. Welcome to your new home, Enzo said as the doors opened onto an expanse of marble and glass that belonged in Architectural Digest. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Biscayne Bay, while modern art pieces, some she recognized as worth millions, dotted the walls. This isn't my home, Leia said, stepping cautiously onto the polished floors. This is a prison with better furniture. Prison. Enzo moved to a bar cart, pouring himself 2 fingers of whiskey. Look around, sweetheart. Most people would kill for this prison. She turned slowly, taking in the opulent details. Italian leather furniture, a kitchen that could serve 30 people, bedrooms visible through open doorways, each decorated with museum-quality taste. But her artist's eye caught the subtle details others might miss. Bulletproof glass, hidden cameras, emergency exits disguised as modern art pieces. It's beautiful, she admitted. And completely impenetrable. Exactly. He lifted his glass in a mock toast. To your protection. Leia didn't drink to that. Instead, she moved to the windows, pressing her palm against the cool glass. Miami sprawled below like scattered diamonds, and she felt the weight of how far she'd fallen from her simple life. Tell me about Emma, she said without turning around. What do you want to know? Everything you're not telling me. Silence stretched between them, filled only by the soft hum of the air conditioning. When Enzo finally spoke, his voice had lost its earlier warmth. Your sister was recruited 18 months ago, he began. One of my men noticed her asking questions about late-night shipments at Meridian. Instead of silencing her, I offered her a deal. What kind of deal? Information for protection. Emma fed me details about Jax's operation, and I made sure she stayed safe. His glass clinked as he set it down. Until she didn't. Leia turned from the window, studying his face. What changed? She discovered something that scared her enough to try backing out. Enzo's jaw tightened. She called me 3 days before she died, said she'd found something that could destroy both my family and Jax's operation. Something that connected us in ways that would bring federal attention neither of us wanted. The weight of secrets pressed against Leia's chest. What did she find? I never got the chance to ask her. His eyes met hers across the opulent space. Jax killed her before our meeting. Leia sank onto the leather sofa, her legs suddenly unsteady. Emma had died carrying secrets that could topple empires, and now those same forces were circling her. Why didn't you tell me this at the club? Because you needed to trust me enough to come here willingly. Enzo moved closer, his presence filling her peripheral vision. And because walls have ears, even in VIP sections. If you're watching this thinking, I would have done the same thing. Subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna. Because the choice she's about to make will change 3 lives forever. Her phone buzzed again, and she glanced at the screen. 57 missed calls from her principal, her neighbor, her few close friends. The notifications showed her tagged in hundreds of posts across every platform. Hashtag #MafiaKiss is trending worldwide, she said numbly. Congratulations. You're famous. I'm notorious. She scrolled through the comments, her heart sinking with each speculation about her identity. They're calling me everything from a gold digger to a federal informant. Let them talk. Enzo settled into the chair across from her, his dark eyes never leaving her face. Speculation keeps the truth buried. What truth? That you're not my lover or my informant. His smile was sharp as broken glass. You're my weapon against Jax Morrison. The words hit her like a slap. I'm not anyone's weapon. No. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Then explain to me how you plan to survive the next 48 hours without my protection. Leia's throat tightened because he was right. She had no allies, no resources, no experience with the kind of danger hunting her. But admitting helplessness felt like surrendering the last piece of herself. I want to learn, she said quietly. Learn what? How to fight back. She lifted her chin, meeting his gaze directly. If I'm trapped in your world, teach me to survive it. Something shifted in Enzo's expression. Surprise, perhaps, or approval. Most people in your situation would be begging to go home. Most people's sisters weren't murdered for asking the wrong questions. He studied her for a long moment, then stood. Training starts tomorrow. 6 a.m. Training for what? Combat. Weapons. Strategy. He moved toward what she assumed was his bedroom. Everything Emma should have learned before she got in over her head. Leia watched him pause in the doorway, his silhouette sharp against the hallway light. One rule, he said without turning around. In this world, hesitation gets you killed. Whatever I teach you, you use without question. No moral debates, no second-guessing. Can you do that? She thought about Emma's lifeless body in the morgue, about Jax's men hunting her through the gallery, about the photograph of her sister's loyalty tattoo. Yes. Good. He disappeared into the darkness beyond the doorway. Your room is down the hall. Everything you'll need is already there. Alone in the vast penthouse, Leia felt the full weight of her transformed reality. 12 hours ago, her biggest concern had been whether her advanced placement students would finish their portfolios on time. Now she was planning to learn lethal skills from a man whose kiss had made her internationally infamous. She found her assigned bedroom, a space larger than her entire condo, complete with a walk-in closet full of clothes in her exact size. The sight sent a chill through her. Enzo had been prepared for this moment, had anticipated bringing her here. This wasn't rescue. This was acquisition. Her phone rang, jarring her from dark thoughts. Unknown number. Don't answer that. Enzo's voice came from behind her. She spun to find him standing in her doorway, having changed into dark jeans and a black t-shirt that emphasized the lethal grace of his movement. How did you? Sound travels in marble hallways. He stepped into her room uninvited, taking the phone from her hands. Unknown numbers are how Jax tracks people. What if it's my family? My friends? Then they'll leave voicemail. His fingers moved across her phone screen with practiced efficiency. I'm installing security software. From now on, all your communications go through encrypted channels. Leia watched him work, noting the calluses on his knuckles, the thin scar along his forearm, the way his shoulders remained tense even in apparent relaxation. This was a man who never truly let his guard down. You've done this before, she observed. Protected witnesses? He handed her phone back. More than you'd imagine. Is that what I am? A witness. His dark eyes met hers, and for a moment she saw something vulnerable flicker across his features. I don't know what you are yet, he said quietly. But Emma died believing you were worth protecting. That's enough for me. The admission hung between them, intimate and dangerous. Leia felt her pulse quicken, not from fear this time, but from something far more complicated. Get some sleep, Enzo said, stepping back toward the door. Tomorrow we find out what you're made of. Enzo, she called as he reached the threshold. Yeah, that kiss at the club. She struggled for words that wouldn't sound foolish or naive. Was it just for show? His smile was slow, predatory, and entirely too knowing. Get some sleep, Leia. The door closed with a soft click, leaving her alone with the memory of his mouth on hers and the terrifying realization that she wanted it to happen again. Outside her window, Miami glittered like a circuit board, beautiful and deadly in equal measure. Somewhere in that sprawl, Jax Morrison was planning her death, and Emma's secrets waited to be unearthed. But in this moment, surrounded by luxury and danger, all Leia could think about was the heat in Enzo's eyes and the promise of tomorrow's training. Her phone buzzed with a text from an encrypted number. Sweet dreams, sweetheart. Tomorrow we see if you're a fighter or just another pretty face who got lucky. She stared at the message, her heart hammering against her ribs. Then she typed back, "Try me." The response came instantly. "I intend to. Show me what you've got." Enzo's voice cut through the pre-dawn silence of his private gym. Leia stood barefoot on the mat, still processing how she'd gone from high school art teacher to learning combat from Miami's most dangerous man in less than 24 hours. The gym occupied an entire floor of his penthouse building, mirrors, heavy bags, weapons racks that made her stomach clench. Everything gleamed with expensive functionality. "I don't know how to fight," she admitted, tying her hair back with shaking fingers. "Everyone knows how to fight." He circled her like a predator studying prey. "Survival instinct. Self-preservation. You used both when you kissed me instead of running." That was desperation. Same thing. His hands moved to her shoulders, adjusting her stance. But desperation without technique gets you killed. His touch burned through the workout clothes he'd provided, sleek athletic where that fit perfectly, another reminder of how thoroughly he'd planned this moment. She tried to focus on his instruction instead of the heat radiating from his body. "First lesson," Enzo continued, his breath warm against her ear. "Your opponent always has advantages. Size, strength, experience. You survive by being faster, smarter, more ruthless." He stepped back, and she immediately felt the loss of his proximity. "Hit me." Leia blinked. "What?" "Throw a punch. Show me your natural instincts." She raised her fist awkwardly, telegraphing the movement. Enzo caught her wrist before she could connect, spinning her around until her back pressed against his chest, his arm across her throat in a gentle but inescapable hold. "Dead," he murmured. "Try again." For the next hour, he broke down every assumption she had about violence. Her punches were wild, her kicks unbalanced, her defensive instincts all wrong. But something else emerged during their sessions, a fierce determination that surprised them both. "Better," Enzo said as she finally landed a glancing blow to his ribs. "You're thinking now, not just reacting." Sweat beaded her forehead, and her muscles burned, but she felt more alive than she had in months. "Again. Take a break." I said again. His eyes sharpened with something that might have been respect. "You're going to hurt tomorrow." "I'm already hurt." She reset her stance, muscles coiled. "Emma's dead, my life is over, and I'm trapped in a world I don't understand. Physical pain I can handle." They went 3 more rounds before a knock interrupted them. A younger man entered, same dark hair as Enzo, same sharp cheekbones, but where Enzo carried authority like armor, this man wore desperation like cologne. "Rico," Enzo said without turning around. "You're early." Rico's gaze fixed on Leia, taking in her disheveled appearance and proximity to his brother. "So this is her. The viral sensation." "Leia Williams," she said, extending a hand he didn't take. "The dead woman walking," Rico corrected with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Rico." Enzo's voice carried a warning.
"What?"
"I'm being honest." Rico moved to the weapons rack, running his fingers along a knife's edge. "She kissed you in public, made herself a target for every rival family in 3 states, and now she's playing house in your penthouse. That's not protection, brother. That's a death sentence with room service." Leia felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I can hear you, you know." "Good. Maybe you'll listen to reason." Rico turned those cold eyes back to her. Walk away now. Take whatever money my generous brother offers and disappear. Start fresh somewhere Jax Morrison and his friends can't find you. I'm not running anymore. Rico laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You think a few boxing lessons make you dangerous? You're a school teacher who stumbled into a war zone. That's enough. Enzo stepped between them, his body language shifting into something lethal. But Rico wasn't finished. She's making you soft, Enzo. Dad would be spinning in his grave, watching you risk everything for some random woman who… Enzo moved so fast Leia barely saw it. One moment Rico was talking, the next he was pressed against the wall with Enzo's forearm across his throat. Finish that sentence, Enzo said quietly. I dare you. Rico's eyes bulged, but he managed to rasp out, You're proving my point. Enzo released him with a shove that sent Rico stumbling. Get out. Come back when you remember which family pays your bills. Rico straightened his shirt, his gaze bouncing between them with undisguised resentment. This won't end well, brother. For any of us. After he left, silence stretched thick with tension. Leia watched Enzo's shoulders gradually relax, noting how his hands remained clenched at his sides. Charming family dynamics, she said finally. Rico's always been jealous. Enzo moved to a bench, grabbing 2 water bottles. Younger son, fewer responsibilities, more resentment. Is he right? About me making you vulnerable? Enzo handed her water, his fingers brushing hers in a contact that felt deliberate. What do you think? I think you didn't answer my question. His smile was rueful. Smart and observant. Dangerous combination. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely hold the phone. Have you ever felt that moment when everything you believed just shatters? Tell me in the comments, because right now, I need to know I'm not the only one who's been this afraid. They spent the afternoon in different kinds of training, surveillance detection, secure communications, reading body language for threats. Enzo proved to be a patient teacher when he wasn't being cryptic about his motives. You're a natural, he said as she successfully spotted 3 of his planted observers during a walk through his building's lobby. Most people take weeks to develop that kind of awareness. Most people haven't had their lives threatened by corrupt cops. Fair point. He guided her back to the elevator, his hand settling on her lower back in a gesture that was becoming familiar. But it's more than survival instinct. You process information differently than most people. Art teacher skills. We're trained to see details others miss. No. His voice dropped lower as the elevator climbed. This is something else. The penthouse felt different when they returned, charged with an energy that hadn't been there that morning. Leia found herself hyper-aware of Enzo's presence, the way he moved through his space like a predator in his territory. Dinner, he asked, moving toward the kitchen. You cook. I have many hidden talents. His smile was wicked. But tonight I had it catered. The meal appeared as if summoned, perfectly prepared Italian cuisine arranged with restaurant precision. They ate at his dining table, the city glittering beyond the windows like scattered stars. Tell me about your father, Leia said, remembering Rico's bitter reference. Enzo's fork paused midway to his mouth. What do you want to know? How he died. Why Rico thinks he'd disapprove of me. My father built this empire on absolute loyalty. Family first, always. Personal feelings were secondary considerations. And you disagree? I think loyalty without choice isn't loyalty at all. Enzo met her eyes across the table. It's just fear with better marketing. The honesty in his voice surprised her. Is that why you helped Emma? Choice. Emma chose to protect you over protecting herself. That kind of loyalty can't be bought or threatened into existence. He set down his fork, giving her his full attention. It has to be earned. What about Rico's loyalty? Enzo's expression darkened. Rico's loyalty extends exactly as far as his bank account. Meaning my brother has expensive habits and flexible morals. He reached for his wine glass, fingers tightening around the stem. He owes money to people who don't accept late payments. How much money? Enough to make him dangerous. The implications settled between them like a cold draft. Rico wasn't just resentful. He was desperate. and desperate people made catastrophic decisions. You think he'd betray you? I think blood doesn't guarantee anything. Enzo's voice carried years of hard-earned cynicism. Emma learned that from her own family. What do you mean? Your sister wasn't just protecting you from Jax. His eyes held her steady. She was protecting you from your own mother. The words hit her like a physical blow. That's impossible. Margaret Williams, 53, works as a nursing administrator at Baptist Hospital. Also accepts regular payments from Jax Morrison in exchange for information about her daughter's activities. Leia's wine glass slipped from numb fingers, shattering against the marble floor. You're lying. Emma discovered it 3 weeks before she died. Your mother had been feeding Jax information about both of you for almost 2 years. Enzo's voice gentled, but the words remained brutal. That's what Emma wanted to tell me. That's why she tried to back out. The room spun around her. Her mother, who'd raised them alone after their father's death, who'd worked double shifts to pay for Leia's art school tuition, who called every Sunday to check on them, that mother was a paid informant. Why? She whispered. Medical bills. Your father's cancer treatment left her drowning in debt. Jax offered her a way out in exchange for keeping tabs on Emma's activities. But Emma's dead. And now Jax is using your mother's guilt to control you. Enzo moved around the table, careful not to step on the broken glass. Every phone call, every family dinner, your mother was reporting back. Leia felt sick. Every conversation, every confidence she'd shared with the woman who'd given birth to her, all of it had been ammunition for the man who killed Emma. I need air, she gasped, stumbling toward the balcony doors. Leia. Don't. She yanked the door open, stepping onto the terrace that jutted out 43 floors above the city. The night air hit her like a slap, but it wasn't enough to clear the suffocating weight of betrayal. Enzo followed but kept his distance, leaning against the doorframe while she gripped the railing with white knuckles. She was at Emma's funeral, Leia said finally. Crying. Grieving. All of it was performance. Grief can be real even when the circumstances are complicated. Stop trying to make this easier. She turned to face him, tears streaming down her cheeks. My mother sold us out. Emma died because of her. Emma died because she chose to protect you. Enzo stepped closer, his voice fierce with conviction. Don't let Jax Morrison steal that from her memory. The pain in her chest felt insurmountable, but beneath it, something harder was crystallizing. Not just her rage. Pure, burning fury at the people who destroyed her family for money and power. I want them to pay, she said quietly. Who? All of them. Jax, my mother, anyone who helped kill Emma. She met his eyes, no longer crying. Teach me how to make them pay. Something shifted in Enzo's expression, recognition, perhaps, or satisfaction. That's a dangerous road. I'm already on it. She moved closer, drawn by the promise of vengeance in his dark eyes. The question is whether you're going with me. He reached up, cupping her face in his hands, thumbs brushing away the last of her tears. Together? Together. The kiss was inevitable, electric, nothing like their performance at the club. This was raw hunger and shared fury, two people finding solace in mutual destruction. Leia lost herself in the heat of his mouth, the strength of his hands, the promise of retribution that tasted like wine and danger. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Enzo rested his forehead against hers. No going back after this, he warned. Good. 3 floors below, Rico Duca stood in his own apartment, phone pressed to his ear as he watched his brother and the art teacher embrace on the balcony above. Yes, I can deliver her, he said quietly into the device. But I want guarantees my brother won't be harmed. The voice on the other end chuckled coldly. Of course, Mr. Duca. Family loyalty is so important, don't you think? Rico closed his eyes, hating himself and loving money in equal measure. When do you want her? $50 million. Rico's voice carried through the penthouse like poison, each word carefully enunciated as he stood in the doorway to Enzo's study. Leia looked up from the weapons manual she'd been studying, her blood chilling at his tone. Enzo didn't look surprised. That's what Jax offered you? That's what I accepted. Rico stepped into the room, his movements twitchy, with nervous energy. My gambling debts, plus enough to disappear permanently. When? Enzo's voice remained deadly calm, but Leia saw his hand drift toward the gun beneath his jacket. Tonight. Warehouse District. Old Pier 17. Rico's eyes darted between them, landing finally on Leia. I'm sorry, but you don't understand what it's like being the expendable brother. Leia felt the floor drop out from beneath her. 3 days of training, of building trust, of believing she might actually survive this. All of it crumbling because of family greed. You piece of shit, she snarled, lunging toward Rico before Enzo's arm stopped her. Save it for Jax, Enzo said quietly, his grip firm but not painful. Rico's already dead. He just doesn't know it yet. Rico flinched but held his ground. The deal protects you, brother. Jax only wants her. And you believed him? Enzo's laugh was arctic. Jax Morrison doesn't leave witnesses. Especially ones with Duca blood. He gave his word. His word! Leia broke free from Enzo's restraint, advancing on Rico with murder in her eyes. He gave his word like he gave it to Emma before he killed her? Rico's face paled. That was different. No. Enzo moved to the weapons cabinet, his movements precise and lethal. That was exactly the same. Emma trusted the wrong person, just like you did. I had no choice. Rico's composure cracked. I owe the Bratva 3 million. They were going to feed me to sharks piece by piece. So you fed us to Jax instead. Enzo turned, a tactical vest in his hands. When? 1 hour. Maybe less. Rico's voice broke. Enzo, I never wanted. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. Rico crumpled, clutching his shoulder as blood seeped between his fingers. That was for Emma, Enzo said, lowering the smoking pistol. The next one's for Leia. Wait. Leia grabbed Enzo's wrist before he could fire again. I want him alive to see Jax fail. Enzo studied her face, something dark and approving flickering in his eyes. You're learning. I'm evolving. She released his arm, moving to Rico's cowering form. Tell me everything. Every detail of Jax's plan. Rico gasped out the specifics between waves of pain. 12 men, heavy weapons, the warehouse rigged as a trap. Jax expected Enzo to come alone, blinded by emotion. He didn't know about Leia's training or her transformation from victim to predator. Secure him. Enzo ordered his men, who materialized from the shadows like summoned demons. Medical attention, but keep him breathing. He's going to watch his family clean up his mess. As Rico was dragged away, Leia felt something fundamental shift inside her. The scared teacher who'd stumbled into this world was gone, replaced by someone harder and infinitely more dangerous. Stop protecting me, she said, strapping on the Kevlar vest Enzo handed her. Start training me for war. His smile was sharp as broken glass. I thought you'd never ask. The warehouse district stretched along Miami's industrial waterfront like a graveyard of rusted dreams. Pier 17 squatted at the end of a maze of shipping containers and abandoned machinery, its corrugated walls pocked with bullet holes from previous conflicts. Leia crouched behind a concrete barrier, her newly acquired Glock feeling both foreign and familiar in her grip. 3 days of intensive training had honed her instincts to razor sharpness, but theory was about to meet reality in the most violent way possible. Remember, Enzo's voice crackled through her earpiece. Jax wants you alive. That's your advantage. Use his restraint against him. What about you? I'm the distraction. You're the surprise. Through her night vision scope, she watched Enzo approach the warehouse's main entrance, hands visible and empty. Theatrical vulnerability designed to lure Jax's forces into overconfidence. The trap was sprung with military precision. Floodlights blazed to life, pinning Enzo in harsh, white illumination as armed figures emerged from concealment. 12 men, just as Rico had promised, surrounding the warehouse like hungry wolves. Jax Morrison stepped into the light, his corrupt cop swagger intact despite the felony kidnapping he was orchestrating. Enzo fucking Duca, the untouchable prince of Miami. Jax. Enzo's voice carried across the space, with casual disregard. Still hiding behind other men's guns, I see. Still arrogant enough to think you're bulletproof. Jax signaled his men, who moved to flank Enzo's position. Where's the girl? Safe. Not for long. Jax pulled out his phone, showing Enzo the screen. We picked up her signal 20 minutes ago. She's in the building. Leia's blood turned to ice. They tracked her despite the security measures, which meant someone else had betrayed them. Someone with access to Enzo's communication systems. Surprised? Jax continued. You should be more careful about your IT department. Loyalty is expensive these days. Enzo's jaw tightened, but his voice remained steady. What do you want? Justice for your interference in my operations. Emma Williams cost me millions in lost revenue before I silenced her. Emma was trying to protect her sister. Emma was stealing from me. Jax's voice turned vicious. Just like her mother, just like her whole fucking family. Parasites who bite the hand that feeds them. That was Leia's cue. She moved through the warehouse's maintenance corridors like a shadow, her training guiding every step. Sound suppression, tactical breathing, target acquisition, everything Enzo had drilled into her functioning with lethal precision. The first guard never saw her coming. She dropped him with a sleeper hold that would have made her former self vomit, then appropriated his communications gear and position. Target acquired, she whispered into the stolen radio, mimicking the fallen guard's voice. Northeast corner, second level. The responding repositioning gave her the opening she needed. 2 more guards down, their weapons redistributed to her growing arsenal. She was becoming death incarnate, fueled by rage and Emma's memory. But Jax was smarter than she'd anticipated. When she finally reached the warehouse floor, she found Enzo bound to a support beam, blood trickling from a head wound. The corrupt cop held a gun to his temple while his remaining men formed a defensive circle. There she is, Jax called out, his voice echoing through the vast space. The viral sensation herself. Did you really think a few boxing lessons could save you from me? Leia stepped into the light, weapon raised, but knowing she was outgunned and outmaneuvered. Let him go. Oh, I don't think so. Jax's smile was everything evil looked like when it stopped pretending to be good. You see, this was never about you, sweetheart. This was about breaking the Duca family permanently. By using me as bait? By using you as proof that even the mighty Enzo Duca can be manipulated by pussy. Jax pressed the gun harder against Enzo's skull. Do you know what your sister discovered before I killed her? Leia's heart hammered against her ribs. Tell me. She found out that your boyfriend here isn't just a crime lord. Jax's eyes glittered with malicious triumph. He's a federal informant. Has been for 3 years. The words hit her like physical blows. Enzo, a federal informant. Everything she'd believed about him, about his protection, about their connection, all of it built on lies. That's impossible, she breathed. FBI file number 4471, Delta 9. Jax recited. Code name, Serpent. Your lover has been feeding information to the feds about every major crime family in South Florida. Enzo's eyes met hers across the warehouse floor, and in them she saw not denial, but devastating confirmation. The man who'd taught her to fight, who'd kissed her with desperate hunger, who'd sworn to avenge Emma, he was the federal government's weapon against his own world. Ask him, Jax taunted. Ask your precious Enzo why your sister really died. Enzo's voice was barely audible, but it carried the weight of absolute truth. Because she found out what I was. The betrayal was complete, perfect in its destruction. Leia felt something die inside her chest, something innocent and trusting that would never return. But beneath the pain, something else was being born. Something pitiless and unforgiving. Emma threatened to expose you, she said, the pieces clicking together with horrible clarity. No. Enzo's eyes never left hers. Emma threatened to expose Jax's connection to the federal investigation. She died protecting you from the truth that would have gotten you killed. What truth? Leia demanded, even as Jax's men tightened their circle. Jax's laughter was sharp as breaking glass. That your mother isn't just my informant, sweetheart. She's been feeding information to the FBI through me for 2 years. Your whole family, every single one of you, has been working for the federal government. The final revelation hit her like a sledgehammer. Her mother, Emma, even her own unwitting involvement, all part of a federal investigation that had consumed her entire family and left Emma dead in its wake. The question is, Jax continued, his finger tightening on the trigger, what are you going to do about it?